Hello there, all you amazing people. This is a video from my recommendation site, reaction video. Going to keep this going to have them coming back. Every annoying Linux guy, and it's from Non-Essential Fungus. Well, and you know it's going to be a good video when in the first, or when you have people like this. I'd just like to inject for a moment. When you're referring to what you are referring to as Linux is in fact GNU/Linux, as our big brains have, not consolidated, but our big brains have said it should be. I'm going to auto-hide my bar here. There you go. So you have to refer to it as GNU/Linux to be a real intelligent, intellectual person on the internet, or as she states with whatever they are, anime, whatever, GNU plus Linux. Let me explain something. I've been using Linux before this person probably was born. Even in the 90s. People called it Linux. Linux was a term being used to inherit or talk about the Linux ecosystem. One thing, Linux, it was the desktop environments, distributions, the core library with userland, driver stack, network stack, whatever you can dream about. We called it Linux in the 90s. This whole GNU Linux is because Richard Stallman's ego got a little bit butthurt and blah, 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 blah. If someone calls it Linux, have the intelligence to understand that it is to simplify the language for the average person. Candles? Is he asking me out for a date, or what's going on here? Oh.
Oh look, your computer's just crashed. Yeah, I don't think that's ever happened before. Well, Bob, if you're tired of this happening all the time, then maybe you should stop being a corporate sheep using Microsoft Windblows and switch to Linux. I don't know, dude. I heard that Linux is really hard to use. Nonsense! Linux has come a long way since the 90s. In fact, it's so easy to use that I even installed it on my grandmother's PC. Dude, isn't your grandmother dead? That's right, Linux is so simple even dead people can use it.
Yeah. This is what every unintelligent Linux user say. And why does they say that? Well, if I can use Linux, you can use Linux. If my grandmother can use Linux, you can use Linux. They don't talk about the illusion or the evasive evasional. Is that the word? The illuminate. What is the word when someone eludes you? Put it in the comment section. My English bad, okay? Concept about individuals. You like chocolate? I don't. I do like chocolate. But you get what I'm coming at here. You like GNOME? I like Plasma. What works for you may not work for me. This is the egocentrical view from a Linux users or people that are using Linux. And they said this since the 90s. This is nothing new. But their argument for using Linux is, I can do it. And then their next argument is, well, this corporation can do it. Yeah, that's 1 out of 1,000. For every 1,000 Windows corporation, there's one that use Linux. So it's not a good argument. Then we go to this state. Yeah, that's one state out of how many fucking states in the world. The vast majority of people are still using Windows because it makes sense for them. It works for them. I could go into like a fucking rant that's longer than everyone's penis combined about why they're using Windows. But they don't seem that. I just saw this short here. Everyone is switching to Linux. No, they are not.
So, what does Linux do that Windows can't? I'm glad you asked that, Bob. You see, most software is designed to take away your freedom to share and change it, but...
So, most software is meant for you to actually pay the developers for their work, and you not pirating it and giving it away for free. We can have a physiological... intellectual conversation about should software be free, should it be freely shareable, or should software be open for developers to chime in, etc., etc. I will gladly have that debate, and in my opinion, it depends on what you're doing with said software. I keep this as a good argument. There's a lot of systems I don't want the source code to be out there. One could be the guidance system for missiles. The other ones could be how my bank handles my money, for example.
Linux is open source, meaning the source code is available to anyone who wants to make changes to it.
Yay.
Dude, I'm not a programmer. I don't give a rat's ass about that kind of thing.
And again, this is what the vast majority of computer users or Linux users tend to forget. But just because you like to fiddling with source code and technology, most people don't. There's a super simple, it's so simple, it's not even funny, way of seeing if Linux is what everyone needs and wants. You know what that is? They will all be using it right now. There is no corporation that can stop someone from using whatever they want. They can make it hard, they can make it difficult, but if people really want to use Linux, they would. I will go back to the Windows Vista days. I made a lot of money installing Windows XP. In the Windows 8 days, I made a lot of money installing Windows 7. Was that for tech nerds? No, they don't need me to do that for them. It was for grandmothers, schools, people that would have no fucking clue that they knew about operating systems. Why did I do that, or why did they want that? Because they didn't like Vista or Windows 8. So they were disadvantaged. They asked around, do you know someone that can give me X version of Windows or the old Windows version back? And there will always be someone that knows someone. So if people were really that fed up with Windows, like they really did not want Windows, they would get Linux. They've done it before. They can Windows 8, they can Windows Vista. And again, grandmothers, bosses, teachers, people that you would not imagine was even thinking about it. So this illusion that, people don't know about Linux and blah, blah, blah. Hey, Linux was mentioned in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard fucking trial, okay? Linux is more mainstream than you think. Anyone that knows anything about fucking technology knows about Linux. And even people that vaguely know something about technology knows about Linux.
But there's more. Linux isn't just about freedom, it's also about choice. With Windows, there's only one version, but with Linux, there are tons of different shows to choose.
Windows Server, Windows Home, Windows Professional, Windows Workstation, Windows Data Center, Windows IoT, or Embedded, or what it's called. And I think there's a few more Windows versions out there. And some of them are based on current technology. Some of them, if you go into Windows Data Center, I even think Windows Workstation to some degree. But I think Windows Data Center is for sure, and Windows IoT and stuff, that is actually based on somewhat Windows 10, where Windows Home Pro is based on Windows 11. There is more than one distribution or one choice for Windows. There's just only one vendor. And also choice cannot be a good thing, because choice gives fragmentation. Fragmentation gives lack of standardization, that gives lack of process, that gives lack of capabilities and compatibilities.
You got Ubuntu, Mint, Debian, OpenSUSE, Fedora, and so many more. Okay, so what's the difference between all those?
Cheers.
Well, can you explain it in a way that's understandable to the average user?
Let's call it TNU/Linux, by the way. But yeah, here's the thing. Linux users are all about the details. The most average person or people in general don't give a fuck about the details. A Linux user is the person that want a really fancy dish, a really good tasting dish, and they go and learn how to make it. Everyone else are people that want the same dish, but they either figure a way out of doing it as easy as possible, so they buy, most of it pre-done and they just put it together, or they buy their way out of it. So they go to a restaurant and stuff like that. That's the difference. But the Linux people think that everyone wants to be a chef because they want to be a chef. No, most people, I hate to admit this because this is not a world I want to live in, by the way, but most people don't give a fuck about technology other than what can it do for me. If Linux is just 1% less convenient than any other system that they're using, they are not going to use it. If Linux just go slightly against what they want and need, they are not going to use it.
Well, did I mention my grandmother uses Linux? Look, all you've told me is that the greatest feature of Linux is something I don't care about, and that installing it means I have to make a choice about something I know nothing about. Well, that's your problem, Bob. You just don't want to learn. Linux isn't just about freedom and choice.
Okay, then it has to be JavaScript if it's done in HTML.
It's also about learning how your computer works. Windows? That's a dumbed-down operating system that doesn't let you really muck about with the guts of your operating system.
Oh, it don't? I could make hours-long videos about how to muck around with Windows, okay? Let's just go to the danger place, the dangerous wasteland of virginality that's called the registry editor. Yeah, you can almost customize and fuck with Windows as much as you can with Linux. However, before you go nuts and angry at me, it's just easier to do it under Linux because they don't hide it. You don't have to go into special modes. You don't have to know secret commands you can only find on Microsoft web page if you really know what you're looking for and stuff like that. It's all just presented to your neat little package that is like, hey, go nuts, make an atom bomb, fuck around, lose your virginity by sticking it into the socket. I don't care, go nuts. Windows tries to protect its core systems from the users so they don't fuck it up. I would say something from using Linux close to 30 years. You know what most of the problems that I fix for people on Linux and Windows are fucking things you guys fuck around with and break because you think you're clever. Talk to any fucking IT person or any developer. Most of the problems that they deal with are self-introduced problems by people fucking around with this should not fuck around. I cannot explain how many times I talk with people and help people where I thought I could just go in there. I read a Reddit post and they said to copy paste this command in, and now they're fucking coming rainbows and unicorns out of the power supply. Most computer problems nowadays, most, not all, but most, is because you fuck with things you don't understand. Not a lot of people say it because it's not nice to say to the customer that you should keep your fat fingers out from this fucking file unless you know exactly what the fuck you're doing, which most don't. It's not nice to say, but it's the truth. I'm not here to be your friend, I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth of the matter is, as much problem Windows have with stability, you are probably the reason why most of those happens with all your deep loading scripts and fucking fuckery around in the register and stuff like that.
Dude, I'm a graphic designer. I got better things to do than screw around with my computer.
Exactly.
As far as I'm concerned, an operating system has two jobs. Run the apps I want and get in the way as little as possible.
Exactly. And this is why I kind of start to calling operating systems service platforms. Because what an operating system mostly are doing is being a hub to service you the apps and the programs you want to run. So in most cases, it's running a web browser, running an Office suite, running whatever. And yeah, that can be done on Linux, it can be done on whatever fucking system you want, if that OS gives you what you want. If for you, Linux is not getting out of the way enough, or it don't support the peripherals and stuff like that you want to use, or it support them, but you don't get all the fancy, where's my mic, all the fancy stuff with it. You don't use Linux, you use Windows. And yeah, they want Windows or the OS to get out of the way. I keep saying this to people. You have to remember, most people, what they want... Can I zoom it in a little bit more? Yeah, I can. Hey, look at that. What 99% of people want when they get a computer, IT person, accountant, graphic person, grandmother, whatever it is, they want to go from I can't do anything to I can write an essay, I can order pizza, I can do my graphic design work, I can start coding. They want to go from nothing to that in the fastest amount of time. Because the fastest they can get to do work that makes money, the more money they can make. You don't earn money fixing your system. You may learn a lot, but you don't earn money. And a lot of companies, if you're running a system that you have to maintain more than your peers, you have to fuck around with more than your peers, that then mean that they do more coding, they do more work than you do because you're fucking around. You either change that system or you get fired.
And speaking of apps, Does Linux have Adobe Photoshop? Photoshop? You don't need that.
Of course not.
Yeah, I do. I need it for my job. Well, don't you worry because Linux has you covered. We've got tons of amazing open source image editing programs like GIMP. GIMP? You mean?
That don't have project sharing, file sharing, don't integrate into the Adobe ecosystem that makes project management easier and makes it better for, make Adobe better for big organization and projects and etc., etc., etc. GIMP is super amazing if you are one person. GIMP is super amazing if you are average and below, or need average below photo editing capabilities. There are professionals using GIMP, there are professionals using open source alternatives. Most of them are not, for the reason I stated why they're using Adobe.
Freaky guy in Pulp Fiction? No. I'm talking about the GNU image manipulation program. GNU? What the hell is GNU? Why, it stands for GNU's Not Unix. What? Don't worry, it's a recursive acronym. You have to have a very high IQ to understand it.
Yeah. So, there are psychological studies out there that Linux users should look into, and it basically rounds around the notion that, or the theory that, a kind of proven theory, but let's just call it a theory to not anger people too much. Smart people don't have to tell people that they are smart. Intelligent people don't have to tell people they are intelligent. They also don't have to do fuckeries, changing names in clever ways and stuff like that to show people how smart they are. A lot of studies have shown, that the only people that are doing that are at best below average. Because they think they are smart and clever and intelligent, so they do stuff that makes them look smart and intelligent. A good indicator if someone is smart and intelligent is they don't know shit. What I mean by that is intelligent people, smart people, they understand the limit of their knowledge and they understand that they don't know everything and they have a lot to learn. So if you hear someone saying that I can do this, but I need to learn it, or I need to learn it, or something of the nature of, I can figure it out. They are probably smarter than the person sitting and, yeah, I can do that. I'm a clever boy. Yep, I can do that. Run away from those. And again, there's studies done about this, and this all kind of come to that kind, not all, but most kind of comes to that conclusion.
Right, so I want something easy to use, so maybe I'll install Ubuntu. Idiot. What did you just say? Oh, sure, you could use something like Ubuntu if you're a dumb, stupid baby. You might as well be using Windows.
It's Linux. I cannot tell you how often I've heard this. And then, well, Ubuntu is the Windows of Linux. No, Ubuntu do things businesses do. If you want Linux to become better, if you want Linux to explode, if you want Linux to become the majority business or the majority OS, it has to make money. To make money, it has to do what businesses do. That is what Canonical do. And here's the thing. I'm going to say this right now, and I will die on that hill. If Linux becomes the majority OS in the world, 99% or 90% of all Linux users will then go back to BSD, Haiku, or some other obscure operating system because the hipster status is not there anymore. They are not smart anymore because, oh my god, I'm using something the majority are using. On the other hand, they say Linux is smart, it's easy, but you also have to be intelligent. You can't have both. And here's the thing, I call a lot of Linux pseudo-intelligent people because they really are stupid. Like, they really don't know what they're talking about. They like to throw all of these things out there. Ubuntu, because something is easy, don't mean it's for stupid people. Easy and convenient just mean they have to fuck around less to do the same job. And for a lot of people, that's what they want. You can do anything you want on Ubuntu as you can on any other Linux distribution. So what the fuck is your problem if they're using Ubuntu? You can do everything the fuck you want on Linux versus Arch. The only difference is how you invoke the package manager. The only difference is how they are installed, so to speak, or set up. The differences are the little, like, do you like carrot cakes? Do you like strawberry cakes? Do you like pound cakes? Those are the differences in Linux distributions. It's things that make Linux distributions unique, and what you choose with a Linux distribution is the tooling. What tooling do you like to work with?
For a real Linux user, you'd be running Arch. But you just said Linux is about choice and freedom. Yeah, and that...
Yeah, Linux is about choice and freedom if you choose what I want you to choose and I agree with. That's the kind of the Linux community in a nutshell.
The freedom to choose the wrong distro, which is all of them if you've got a problem. Right, so I've installed Linux, and what the hell is with this directory system? I mean, they're all named things like sbin and var opt and usrsrc. Why not just use names that are easy to read, like documents or program files? That's because you're a moron, Bob. Linux is...
So, again... Linux is easy. Oh no, you're just stupid because you don't know the file hierarchy. Pick your fucking line, okay? Like, I get it, most people are going to fuck around in the file system on any OS. This used to be a massive problem back in the day when you did a lot of manual installation. Like when I used Slackware back in the day, Slackware didn't have a fucking package manager. I was the package manager. That meant that if I want a program, I download the tarball, I compile it, and then, I want this dependency. I have to go and find, it put the dependency in the wrong dictionary. I had to either do a dynamic link or something like, or link to it and blah, 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 stuff like that. People don't do that anymore. People probably don't even know what the fuck I just talked about.
Designed to be like Unix, the most important operating system in computing history.
No.
Wait, so you're telling me that this...
Unix is more or less dead. The only importance about Unix is the philosophies of development that came out of it, like the Unix method and stuff like that. The OS of itself was super... I think for the vast majority... I could be mistaken here, but I think for the majority of time Unix existed, it was a subpar broken system. It only became good near the end.
Modern operating system is using directory names that date from the Richard Nixon era. Yeah, and what's your point, Bob? Wait, why doesn't my laptop's touchpad work? Why, it looks like you've run into an unexpected hardware issue. Now the real fun begins. Enjoy spending hours trawling sites like Reddit and Stack Overflow in a desperate attempt to solve your problem, then copying and pasting some code you don't understand into the terminal that winds up uninstalling half your operating system. Okay, I will say this is not a common problem anymore. But it do happens, and it happens more than on Windows and Mac OS. Why would people want to do that? That sound thrilling? What? No, that sounds like the worst way you could spend an afternoon. But wait, it gets better.
It gets better. Now you're also getting fisted without loop. Yay.
Problems on Linux means getting acquainted with the command line interface, the most powerful tool at your disposal.
Okay. Change the wallpaper from the command line in any desktop environment. In GNOME, KDE, XFCE, Plasma, and tell me that it's intuitive and it's easy and it's fast. I could come up with thousands of examples where the command line is great for certain things. It's a server tool. It can also be a power user tool. I hate using that word, but it can be useful in certain situations. But for the most part, people should not be in the command line. That's something we stopped doing in the 80s for a reason. If the command line... Again, people tend to forget. The world is a little bit like evolution. The best ideas tends to win most of the time. If the command line was the best tool for most people, we would still be using it all the time. It's only a useful thing for a select few people. Or else it would be there would be Apple talks about the new features in fucking, what is they using, CS8 or something like that in macOS. They would be like they would fuck about Apple Intelligence and fuck. No. They would be raving about the new capabilities of the Apple terminal.
Command line? You mean like the thing my dad used with DOS? DOS? Of course not. The Linux terminal is nothing like DOS. It's got...
Well, it kinda is, because what you were using in a Windows or in Windows terminal, Linux terminal, you're more or less emulating it's a terminal into a server. You're emulating the old, I can't remember what the fuck the computers were called back in the day, where they used like a terminal to interact with the computer. You're emulating a headless state, basically. You're talking to the operating system. You're basically emulating that terminal. That terminal used to be a physical computer, by the way. And you're talking to your computer via a terminal emulator. Instead of having a physical computer connecting to your computer that you're using the other physical computer to talk to your computer in the back end. So you're basically running an emulator, more or less, to talk to the back end of your computer. Loop up people. And remember, safety is your first concern, so to use rubber. But anyway, that's basically what it is. Really roughly speaking. Again, the command line can be super fucking... I use it a lot at work and at home. But I don't expect my brother to use it. I don't expect my friends to use it. It's something I do for things I need to be done. Hey, he's using it to run NPM. Amazing for that. For developers, the terminal can be amazing. For the average person, no.
All sorts of powerful commands and programs like awk, sed, grep, mkdir, def, sudo, apt-get, and physic. Dude, are you alright? You sounded like you were choking for a moment there.
Just got a heart attack.
I'm feeling better than ever, Bob, and you know why? Why? Because I'm not using Windows. Right.
That's that security complex that I feel a lot of Linux users have. They feel like they found something that nobody knows about, or they found something secret that they are in an exclusive club. No. I can find you 10 times more clever people that are not using Linux than they are using Linux. What OS you use have no bearing on how smart you are, how clever you are, how good you are at technology, or anything. Heck, no matter what OS you use, have no bearing on how much you learn about hardware, software development, and stuff like that. It all comes down to you. If you need an OS to, in quote, force you into learning about these things, so be it. You can debate that Linux somehow encourages it a little bit more because it's not hiding so much stuff. But you can learn about kernel design on any fucking OS. You can learn about hardware design on any OS.
What kind of games you got on Linux anyway?
Oh god.
Why, gaming on Linux has come a long way. Thanks to Valve's Proton compatibility layer, most of the games you played on Windows can also be played on Linux.
Kinda.
Well, except those that use kernel mode anti-cheat programs. Those don't work, of course.
And I know I've seen Linux use it, just take it away. I think a lot of cheats engines are going out of the kernel. Why do they use the kernel level access? It's apparently just easier and faster to develop that way. That's what I've heard. That's why they're doing it. They don't really need it. And after the whole Cloudflare, what the thing problem they are trying to get out, or Microsoft wanted to get out of it, which again is a benefit and will make it more compatible with other systems. And I'm all for compatibility with games on all systems, don't get me wrong. But there are more games that works better on Windows than there are games that works better on Linux. Cue the Linux user now in my comment section, but this game works better on Linux. Yeah, listen to what I am saying. I'm trying to say this in a clear manner. There are more games that works better on Windows than there are games working better on Linux. That don't mean you can't find a lot of games that works better on Linux. It just means that there are more games working better on Windows. Who knows in the future?
And what kind of games might those be? Oh, you know, obscure games that no one plays, like, I don't know, League of Legends and Fortnite. Okay,
small games.
Are there any Linux exclusive games? Or Linux exclusive apps, for that matter?
And again, this is where I'm a little bit like, exclusivity sucks. Because in my perfect world, and in how I would imagine the world to be like, is that whatever program you run should be able to run on every system. This is why I specifically mostly code in universal coding language, or university supported coding languages. So if I have to code, I'm a little bit against using C#, because even though you can use it on Mac and you can use it on Linux, it mostly is a fucking Windows thing. I don't like to fiddle around with Object-C because it's a Mac thing. I don't want to go the Linux only thing with C and the Linux specific libraries. I would go Python, Java, heck, even JavaScript for that matter, using it with Electron and stuff like that for like a simple program, because it works on all platforms. And that is my personal philosophy, is that we have to go away. We have to step away from exclusives. But the problem is that with a lot of universal or universal supported languages is that they have a lot of downfalls. So the resource management are bad. They are slow. They are not intuitive. Or there's a lot of problems with them. And that is why, like, if you're a Windows guy, you do C#. If you're a Mac guy, you do mostly Object-C, because they're built into the OSs and they just run better, to be honest.
So, what you're telling me is that installing Linux means having to relearn an entire operating system. One that has all the same apps as Windows, but with more hassle. That's right. And if
Where's the benefit?
I complain about it, a bunch of people on the internet are just gonna roll their eyes and call me an idiot. Now you're catching on. Well,
I like self-inflicted torture. Let's use Linux.
I don't know about you, but that kind of sucks. Alright, then let me ask you a question, Bob. Do you enjoy the taste of Bill Gates' boot leather? What?
I love this. Bill Gates have had almost nothing to do with Windows for, I think, over a decade now, and they still fucking think that he's running around like Santa every fucking day, going down the chimney and fucking every every Windows user in the ass. That guy must get a lot of fucking ass play or ass action. Like, come on. I'm not saying like I hate Windows. Windows is like, yeah. I hate macOS. I like Linux better than any of those systems. But Linux is also the worst one for the average person. It just is. Like, for every benefit, there's more negatives. And you also have to remember one thing. Why switch from a system that already gives you everything you want, that already works, and blah, 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 to someone that kind of do the same, but not really, and you have to work more for it, and all that, and then you throw in security, freedom, telemetry. Most people don't give a fuck about that. I just went out to the shop today. If you're using your phone to pay your shit with, that's already more telemetry than Windows probably take in a year. They know where the fuck I've been. They know what I bought. All my sex toys are going to be registered now. Anyway, you get what I'm coming at here. If you have a car, modern car, they can figure anything fucking out in that car. Where you've been, how much pressure you put on the brake pedal, the state of your fucking oil and all that fucking shit. There are so many intrusive shit in your day-to-day that the thing Windows take, should you care about it? Yes. But it's nothing. I keep saying it like this, like, imagine you have a bucket filled with water, and that's all the data, telemetry, and stuff like that. And you take like a little shot glass or a cup, and you take that into that water, and you take that water, and you put that back into the ocean. That's about the impact running Linux would have on your day-to-day life when it comes to data being tracked about you and stuff like that. And intrusive intrusive shit that's going on in your life that's coming from other places. There are way bigger fish to fry. I would go out right now and say one of the biggest threat to your security, one of the biggest threat right now to your safety and data collection and telemetry that actually could physically fucking hurt you is Google and anything, or not anything, but most things for China.
We've already established that you're a Microsoft simp, Bob, and now we're just working out the details. Tell me, do you enjoy working your tongue into every crevice of Microsoft's boot? Do you love slobbering down every piece of dirt and grime between their
Bill Gates juice. Salty and sweet.
No. Look, I've got issues with Windows, sure, but shut up, moron. If you hate Linux, you must love Microsoft. I'll bet you're the kind of person that would let Bill Gates piss all over them, and you'd frolic and gargle in the stream as if the gods of Olympus
Golden shower me, daddy.
themselves were giving you a golden shower. Isn't that right, Bob? No, you're just
I wish he would stop calling me Bob.
making up a bunch of stuff because you've wrapped your entire identity around an operating system instead of actually developing a personality.
Yep.
So what are you saying, Bob? Are you
That's the nail of it. This is the most important life in these sad people's life. And if the OS is the most important thing about you, you live a super fucking boring life. Maybe I would call it sad. Like, if this is what you talk about when you're with your friends and at a party, I fucking hope you never go to a party. You'll be like an emotional vampire just sucking the fun out of the room.
saying I'm some kind of insufferable twerp who never moved on from high school and who's still shaking his fist at all the people who made fun of him by turning his technical expertise into a shield of superiority? Is that what you're saying? Huh? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. You frickin' nerd. How dare you call me the N-word? That is our word. You have no right to use it.
I fucking love it. Oh, yeah, this was actually, like, it took me a long while to get into this video. Do go and recommend videos in my Discord. I will get to them at some point. I will have a link to this channel down below. Go nuts, man. Like, this is... I know that this is a minority of the Linux users, okay? Don't get me wrong. This is, by far, not the majority of Linux users. The problem lies in that the vast majority of Linux users don't say shit. So, people that he was talking about right now, even though that they are minority, looks like they are majority because they are the ones everyone see, they're the ones everyone hear, they're the ones getting pinged on top of a comment. What we need here is the mentally sane, normal, well-adjusted people to tell these kind of people, which they do down here, by the way, to eat a fucking dick, okay? Shut the fuck up. This is not how we conduct ourselves. The sad reality is that the Linux community has just ignored these as passionate individuals. And they have been like, it's not really hurting anything. I will debate it does. This whole notion, this whole stigma Linux users have around Linux has, and I've talked to people, it has stopped people from using Linux. It has also made people run away from Linux. See you all later. Bye bye.